Team, what's your vision for Webomates in next 2 years or 3 years? And how has been your life in the last 7 months of pandemic?
Um, Vision for the next couple of years, actually, these are interlinked questions because the last 7 months actually ended up creating a scenario that is a little pretty much a land of opportunity for us. We had already started focusing on the United States Air Force and SBIR from the DoD, and we got phase ones, we've got multiple phase twos that we've applied for, we're doing it again. So the net resultant is because I wasn't on the road anywhere near as much. I was able to become my latest master's is in proposal writing. And if you've never done an SBIR, you don't feel my pain. There is a lot of effort that's needed to do that kind of work. But, March to June, almost every business, unless you were remote retail, right? Amazon, in other words, was sort of like either like this or like this, right? And you just hoped you were here, not here. So we were kind of like here, but we didn't pick up any new accounts. Everybody who was currently doing something went into the kind of a mode, and current customers did exactly that, but continued paying us, so we were quite happy. So you had almost a quarter where basically commercial business on a worldwide basis went stationary, right? Any incoming orders, you just sat on them. Coming out of it, we suddenly have a new market, which is the DoD. We're talking with like 7 groups in the Air Force. We're talking the Army now. Commercially in the US, we're starting to pick up steam again. All the contracts that were sort of like in queue are being basically now finalized. And Europe is starting to grow. Internally within the company, where I think the impact, at a business level, it's sort of like, I'm looking at the next couple of years being where I move from the sort of like single digit growth to potentially double-digit growth years, because I've been, this is a non-COVID story. I'm hiring. I've hired 3 salespeople in the last 2 months, and I'm going on a bit of a spree at this point in time because one of those things you learn at the bottom of the chasm is that, it doesn't really matter what you're building if you don't have a sales force, it doesn't sell. Unless you have a consumer application, and then you need to sell from the perspective of building your website and drawing in traffic, but it's still selling. So we're looking at a significant increase. A lot of our internal focus has been around how do we handle teams that have gone completely remote. Now, we're a native cloud, native AWS, native, that entire shebang that we were, we didn't write a line of code that didn't run in AWS from day one. So for us to transition and become remote, technically, was actually trivial. Everybody stopped going to work and they just continued using, because we didn't really have much lab infrastructure in the office. And for everybody outside of India, they were already working remote. It was kind of like, okay. And when we hear people saying, "Oh my God, have you heard of Zoom?" And we're like, yeah, well, I mean, kind of 2 years ago, maybe a little bit more. It was that kind of a reaction. However, for the teams that were already were already remote versus the teams that went from a on-floor premises to a completely remote setting, it was a real adjustment, right? People sitting at home, people, with kids running through the back, over the front, in between, no babysitting, particularly in India. This can be really challenging because all the housework needed to be done. So, and then you had the sort of like, it used to be for everybody on the team that the weekend was something you look forward to. More than 50% of our team didn't want the weekend to come. They were like bored senseless. So it's like we started all these initiatives. We started a sort of like global all hands meeting, which lots of companies do that. But the question is it entertaining? Is it material? Does it engage the teams? So like we had one of those today, where we've taken the COVID opportunity to take more than 50% of the team, and they've gotten certifications in AWS, and we've put bonuses up saying, okay, you're bored, you're doing nothing else over the weekends, here, study hard, get certifications, and your career will move forward, and it's good for the company too. Last week we had a yoga session done over demos on a worldwide basis, which was kind of interesting. A lot of people admitted that their flexibility had reduced over time and they needed to focus on that. So, doing that kind of stuff, which maybe many, I think, larger companies, non-startups spend a lot of time. I'm not sure they're very good at it. I've worked at some very, very large companies, but they have these initiatives. And I mean, we're starting to measure calls by, okay, how many people turned Zoom on the call in the all hands meeting? How many people spoke? How many people laughed, right? And the last metric is like the most important. And we've really put a lot of sort of like internal energy into sort of like moving this forward, because otherwise, productivity does a nosedive. Let me go to the hard data. And people are unhappy. I mean, it's like, why are you doing this? If, everybody starting from the top is like, oh, it's so bad, it's horrible, I'm going to kill myself, So,
Excellent.
that's
So, Aseem,
actually been really good.
yes. So Aseem is a great storyteller. He would keep you hooked to your seats. So what Aseem is saying, that it's very important to engage with your people and to make them learn. Constantly, consistently improving is the key. If you invest in yourself, you become better. And Aseem invests a lot in himself and in his team. That's very important for him and to grow.